Hey guys, me again. We're getting ready to start using our conduit bender, finally, okay? We're gonna make a box offset, but before we make a box offset, we gotta talk about cutting our conduit, the proper way to cut it, and also reaming our conduit. So, on conduit, it comes in 10-foot sticks. We call them sticks, okay? Whenever you pick up, you know, they can get damaged in transit or whenever people throw them down on a job or whatever. Get used to when you pick up a new stick of conduit, put your finger in there and roll it around. See if something has mashed the end. If it has mashed the end, we have compromised the ID or the inner diameter of the conduit, so we have to cut that bad section off. And then go to the other end, do the same thing, put your finger in it, see if you see any burrs in there. Most of the time, we're gonna be pulling in, well, we can pull in any kind of wire, but for general purpose wiring in a plant, you're gonna be pulling in THHN with 600 volt insulation. Your power circuits for motors are gonna be 480. So if you have a burr inside this conduit, and you drag that 600 volt insulation over there, how much of a cut can you put on that insulation and still have 600 volt insulation? Well, we all know the answer to that, not much. So if we have a burr in there, you could do everything right other than that. You could pull your wire in, you could ohm it out and everything else, but when you put 480 volts on there, it's gonna sound like a 12 gauge shotgun because it's gonna short to ground because we have damaged our insulation on our wire. And if you remember, I've told you before, if we don't protect our insulation, we spend our lives as electricians taking care of insulation on the wire. If we don't take care of it, all we got is scrap copper. So get used to running your finger around there, make sure that it's okay. Now, we're gonna cut this, and we're gonna measure it. And I want you to cut this in half. I want you to measure it, cut it 5 feet long. Now, a little bit about measuring conduit. A lot of times, people want to use a big old black marker on it. Now, I'm going to use a black marker so you can see where I got it marked. But every one of y'all know how I feel about markers, okay? If you mark your conduit with a big old wide mark like that, and you're running your conduit out there, say at Lowe's, if they're running another circuit, you've got a nice, pretty galvanized piece of conduit with big old black lines everywhere, okay? A pencil's our friend. Pencils, 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 pencils. You know, mark it in pencil. I'm using a marker so you can see what I'm doing. But if I'm on the job, I'm using a pencil. Now, it might not matter in a greasy pit, but habits are habits. It's hard to go wrong with a pencil on prints or conduit or whatever. We can erase it. Everything's good, okay? So I've got my conduit marked. I'm going to take a hacksaw. Now the way you cut conduit, I'm going to hold it against the edge of the ladder here, okay? Put my foot on it, and I'm going to start just with little bitty strokes, and then this is very important, very important. When you get to the end of that saw mark, you don't want to pick the conduit up and break it off. You want to saw it almost completely in two, or you're going to have a ragged edge there that could compromise the insulation. So, a few few more saw strokes, you don't have that bad, ugly edge, okay? Now, what kind of conduit has to be reamed or needs to be reamed? Answer is all of it. EMT has to be reamed. If you look at this, okay, it's a real ragged area on the outside, the OD, and also on the inside. So, I've cut straighter, but oh well. You stick this on there, and I love this. This is the best little reamer. You go around twice. Now, whenever you put your finger around it, that's a nice cut joint that's not going to damage our insulation, okay? So, now we have a 5-foot piece of conduit. We have reamed it. And even if it's PVC, if you're running PVC, which is plastic, right? You got to ream it, because if you don't, it's going to make the wire go in hard and could damage the insulation again, even though it's plastic. But just get into that habit. Okay, now, a little bit about our box. I want you to take your box, and on one side, the center hole, you just push it in like that, okay? Push it in. And it's just got a little tab there, okay? So if you go back and forth, it'll break out. But if you take lineman pliers and reach in here, do that. Now you got a 1/2 inch, trade size 1/2 inch hole. Now, the next question. How do we install the connector? Now, I want us to use a set screw connector first, all right? The set screw connector is actually 2 parts. It is our set screw connector that connects our conduit to our box, and it is a lock nut. Excuse me. Now, if you look at this lock nut, it has ears on it, and these ears are cupped, okay? They're cupped. That cup part, if you feel on one side, you can feel sharp points. The other side is smooth. The sharp points have to be toward our box and dig into the box, because we have to bond all metal parts that the public can touch, okay? Because if we have a fault in our circuit, if we have a ground fault, it is going to make our ground, our metal box, our metal conduit, our metal cabinet hot. There has to be a return path back to our distribution panel to trip our breaker or blow our fuses. So it's very important how we put these lock nuts on. Now, they make another style lock nut that it has ridges on both sides, and it doesn't matter which way you put them on. But this here, the ears have to go toward the box. Now, we're going to slide the set screw connector through the hole. Going to reach in here, start that on with the ears, with the sharp points toward the box. Now, this is very important. I've got this tightened up, okay, and you can see it. The screw is over to the side. Now, whenever you mount this box is going to be on a wall, it's going to be on a ceiling, it's going to be somewhere, okay? And there may be a time when we have to either add on to the circuit, take the conduit out, run bigger conduit, whatever. Little habits make our jobs easier. So, if we take a pair of channel locks, and you can see I've got that in about the 10 o'clock position. If we grab this now and turn it, now it is tight. It is tight. But the screw is straight down. If you notice that, screw straight down, okay? Now, that way, if we mount it on the wall, we can get to the screw. Mount it on the ceiling, get to the screw. Doesn't matter. Makes our lives easier, those little bitty habits. Now, if you notice, and I have to, the back of this connector is not even with the back of the box, okay? So, sorry about this, guys, but best I can do right now. See, this is not even with the back of the box. You're going to go out there and you're going to see conduit. And the conduit, get this up here like this, that ain't wasn't reamed. Okay. Now, if you see conduit like this, that's not very professional. See, I can get my thumb underneath there. It doesn't look good at all, okay? And if you're running it like that, that's someone running conduit. They're either too lazy to put a box offset in, or they don't know, you know, and they're doing the best they can. We're gonna know after this how to put a box offset in. So, when we have conduit, that this is even with this board, okay? This board is a plane, okay? P-L-A-N-E. This box, okay, get that in that connector. Now, when I have this conduit parallel to the plane that is the top of the board, that's a different plane. So what we're going to try to do is go straight from the board, put a couple of bends in it, and bring it on plane to go straight into that box, okay? So, box offsets. If we were to measure this box, okay? If we were to measure how far this connector is off of the board, okay, I'm getting a 1/2 inch. I'm getting 1/2 inch. So we need a 1/2 inch box offset. I'm gonna ream this in here. I got the other one reamed. I'm gonna do this one here, okay? Okay. Run my finger on the inside, feels pretty good. Fingers on the outside, feels pretty good, okay? Now, most 4 square boxes are gonna need a 1/2 inch offset. So that 1/2 inch offset is real easy. What we're gonna do, we're gonna put one measurement on this conduit, and it's 3 inches. That's all you need to know, 3 inches, okay? Now, I'm using a big old black marker so you can see it, but that ain't what I'm using on the job. Your bending will never be any closer than your measurements, okay? So be exact when you measure it. Now, when you measure conduit and mark it, get into a habit of taking the mark all the way around the pipe, just like this, okay? Just roll around, okay? Now, there's a reason for that. That's got a mark all the way around it. And whenever we start bending multiple bends in the same conduit, we're going to be bending, moving forward, turning, bending, moving forward, turning. If we mark it with our pencils, okay, all the way around, then it doesn't matter how we have to orient our pipe, we'll still see our marks. Okay, now, finally, our bender. I forgot to tell you this in the last video, but do not throw this away. This is really, really well done. It's a good sheet to refer to because a lot of times in a plant you may not run conduit but once every 6 months and then run it for a long time, then not for 6 months. You may have to go back and review. It's a great piece of paper to review. So keep it. Now, this bend here is all by feel. This 1/2-inch conduit bends like butter, okay? I mean, it bends and you can barely feel it. The first thing we're going to do is put this conduit in here and put the front of it even with the front of the hook, okay? Even with the front of the hook. Now, down here on the bottom of the bender, right down here, I am putting it behind my front foot. Because if you're on concrete and you start bending down, it can slip out and you know, you're gonna bang your nose and face into the bender and fall on the ground and none of that feels good, right? So, what we wanna do is put a 10-degree bend in here. This is probably one of the more challenging bends just because you don't have anything to go by for 10 degrees. You just gotta lean into it. Now when I lean into it, I've got my foot in front of the handle of the bender and I am bending, I'm putting my chest into this, okay? A lot of you guys are a lot stronger than I am, you know. Just bend it just a little bit, okay? Maybe a hair more. Now, when you do that, okay, I want you to move it forward and get your mark to the front of the hook, okay? Right here. See it? See the mark there? Putting that mark right on front of the hook. Now, this is important. I'm going to get back here and I am going to sight this in, okay? And you've got to turn it left and right to make sure you're exactly turned over 180 degrees to get the second bend, okay? So, I've got it turned up, I've got the hook on the mark, I've got the handle straight up. Now I'm looking down through here with one eye, and I'm turning it to the right. You can see when it starts kicking off that way. Then turn it to the left, you see it kicking off that way, and then split the difference, okay? And I'm going to show you here in a minute why it matters. But then I'm going to put the same amount of degree in, because a plus 10 degree and a minus 10 degrees equals what? 0, right? Plus 10 plus minus 10 equals 0. That means that we start out on the plane of the wood, plus 10 goes up, minus 10 puts us back on plane. That's what we're doing, okay? Now we get to check it, okay? So let me check it and then I'm going to show you. Okay, now, right here, okay, this is a box offset, but it's not high enough. You see here where you can still see my finger here? It should be hitting down here, all right? This, I look at it, and it's not quite high enough, okay? Not quite high enough. All right, so we need a little more bend in both bends. So, get it in here. Now you gotta slide it up and put it in the same place or it won't turn out right. Put your foot in front of the handle, lean into it a little bit. Now, I need more in both. I'm putting the 3-inch line right in front of the hook and lining it up. And I'm leaning into it a little bit, okay? Now, I'm looking at it here, I need just a little bit more. I'll show y'all what I mean here. Perfect, perfect. Okay, now, right here, this is a box offset, okay guys? A box offset. We come on this plane here, then we come up and over here. Now, you see this part right here? Okay? You see how it went back on plane? The camera might be playing tricks, but let me pull the box off and show you. This should be parallel with the board, okay? This is parallel, this is running on the board. This should come up and be straight. If it's cocked up, you didn't get a good box offset. If you're too high and you're humped down, didn't get a good box offset. That right there is a good box offset. Now, there's one other thing you have to check on this. You gotta lay it down, okay? Right there, if you lay it down, it should be equal. You shouldn't see any light underneath here. If you do, you have gotten the end of this cocked to one side or the other. And that's a dog leg. Right now, you can look down through there, and if some of you guys are good at shooting pool, you can look down through here and see if it's cocked off one side. Now, I'm going to put a dog leg in it. In fact, I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to put a dog leg in the other one so you can see what it looks like. So again, we're going to put a 3-inch mark on our conduit. Okay. Now, 3-inch mark on our conduit. Put my foot in front of the handle, lean on it, give it just a hair more. And then I'm going to show you the two next to one another. Here's our good one, okay? Here's our good one. This one here cocks off to the side. That's because my second bend was not exactly 180 degrees rolled over, okay? Now when you do that, if you see this is all cocked off to one side, all right? If I try to put it in the box, okay? It's hard to see. You see how crappy that looks? Okay? See how crappy that looks? Now let's put the real one on there. Now, you see how good that looks? Now, look at it straight on. See how good that looks? That's straight up. That looks professional. We're down against the board, okay? So that's what we're going for. That's a box offset. For 1/2 inch, you just come back 3 inches. 3 inches, your first bend is even with the front of the shoe right here. Then whenever you put your foot in front of the bender, just lean against it with your chest, okay? It doesn't take a lot of pressure because this bends like butter. Roll it up, put the 3-inch mark in front of your hook. And then line it up where you're 180 around, and you won't have a dog leg. That's called a dog leg. When it goes off to the side, that's a dog leg. Dog legs are never good in electrical and conduit. Do your best to get out of it. A little bit of a dog leg, and you put it in your bender sideways and straighten it up. But very much of a dog leg, you got to cut it off, start again. Okay? And this comes with time. Be good to yourself. But you're going to have to learn how much pressure to put on the pipe, on the conduit. We call it pipe. It's really conduit, but it's pipe for slang. This is EMT. It's also called thin wall. Most time we call it thin wall. And you're just going to have to learn how much you can put on it. Now, let's say you put too much bend in it. If you turn it over, okay, if you turn it whenever it was in the bender like this, okay, and you put too much in there, if you roll it straight over with the mark, even with the hook, and get it exactly the 180 around, you can pull a bend out. So don't think that if you overbend it, it's a bad piece of conduit. Roll it over, practice taking it out. If you don't kink the pipe, you're good, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I hope I covered it well enough. I want you to make me 5 of these, okay? And whenever you make a good one, take a picture of it in the box. Now I want you to tighten that connector up in the box. Don't leave that connector loose and then waller that connector around and think you got it bent close enough. I want you to bend your pipe into a tight connector on a flat surface, okay? So, I want you to make me 5 of these. You ought to be able to make 5 of them on a 5-foot stick, okay? Because we don't have a 50-foot conduit. You ought to be able to make me 5 of those and have conduit left over, okay? So waller it around till you get it. Make it fun. I always thought conduit was fun. A lot of people, well, I hate conduit. Well, you know, I'm sorry for you because you got a skill set that you can't sell. And if you're going against me and conduit matters to the person that's doing the hiring, guess who's going to win, you know? And I'll tell you why I like conduit. It's one of the few things you can do in a plant and then stand back and say, wow, you know, I put that in. In a plant, most of the time, we're troubleshooting. We're keeping equipment running. And that equipment, except for running, looks the same when you walk away from it as it does when you walk up to it. And also, conduit was a good break for me to get away from the troubleshooting. You know, I love troubleshooting, but I also like a break from it. So anyhow, it's a great skill set. You know, it's just like learning to do anything. It's repetition, 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 repetition. Make me 5 of these. I don't care if you use the whole 5-foot stick up on box offsets. The more you do, the easier it gets. You saw how quick I did it, and I just had to make 1 or 2 little adjustments, and I nailed it. I don't do this but 2 times a year. If I did it every day, I'd nail it first time. So be good to yourself, waller it around, make sure it's straight. I'll show you a dog leg one more time. That's the biggest thing you got to worry about. Okay. This dog leg is up against a straight piece of pipe. Okay. See it? See how this dog leg here cuts off? You know, it doesn't go straight. Now, on my other one, okay, this is the good one, okay? This here is a good box offset. If you hold it up here like this, you can hide one pipe right behind the other, okay? They're good and straight. So, if you have any questions, give me a call. I want to see pictures of 5 box offsets and show me on a flat surface where it runs into that box, okay? And whenever it goes into the box, I want this part of the conduit here to be down against the flat surface, and I want this part to be perfectly parallel to your flat surface. If this part's cocked up, not good enough. If this part's humped down, even though this goes in your connector, that's not a good box offset. okay? Yeah, the pickier you are, the better you're gonna run conduit. And people ask me, how do you get to where you run good conduit? Well, the first thing you do is you bend a lot of bad conduit, you know? The more bad conduit you bend, as long as you care, the better you're gonna get at it. The other thing is you gotta know what good conduit looks like. So the next time you go to Lowe's, look on the walls, look at the ceiling, look at the good conduit that's ran. Whenever they open it up again, the Mexican restaurant next to Cheddar's on 54 used to be El Bracero, and it might still be. You go into the bar there and look up at that black ceiling. 2 different electricians ran conduit there. One of them did not use box offsets and it looks like crap. The other one used box offsets and it looks great, right side by side, you know? So be picky with it. Send me any questions, call me. You got my number, and we'll work through this together. We're the trades, we help each other, right? So you guys take care. We'll talk to you soon.